The Conjuring 2 Iceberg explained. The Enfield poltergeist tapes refer to the actual audio recordings captured during the infamous paranormal investigation in England between 1977 and 1979. These historical recordings feature the chilling, gravelly voice of an old man named Bill Wilkins speaking through 11-year-old Janet Hodgson. Pieces of these real-life recordings were famously integrated into the closing credits of the horror movie to emphasize the terrifying reality behind the cinematic adaptation. While skeptics often argued that the young girl was simply utilizing a disguised ventriloquist voice, paranormal investigators including Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren maintained that the supernatural occurrence and possession were completely genuine. Vera Farmiga's swollen eye highlights the intense physical toll experienced by the lead actress while portraying the clairvoyant Lorraine Warren. During the grueling production of the sequel, Farmiga had to push her vocal cords and physical endurance to the absolute limit, performing an extensive amount of dramatic screaming to denounce demons over the course of roughly 50 takes left her with noticeably swollen lymph nodes and structural strain around her neck and eye area. This phenomenon became widely discussed among fans as an example of the heavy real-world exhaustion suffered by the main cast members to bring the intense horror sequences to life on the big screen. The Crooked Man spin-off refers to a planned feature film centered around the creepy, elongated character introduced during the sequence in the Hodgson home. Warner Bros. Officially put the project into development in 2017, with the intention of expanding the cinematic universe into dark fairytale horror territory. However, after several years in development limbo, filmmaker James Wan confirmed in 2022 that the project had been officially canceled. The decision was ultimately made because the studio chose to prioritize the core stories of Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren, alongside other primary demonic entities. No CGI Crooked Man highlights a surprising behind-the-scenes fact regarding the visual presentation of the terrifying lanky creature. Many viewers originally assumed that the character's jerky, unnatural movements and bizarre proportions were the result of digital computer animation. In reality, the production team utilized practical effects and hired Javier Batet, a remarkably talented actor known for his unique physical build and ability to perform hyperflexible body movements. This creative choice allowed the director to capture the unsettling presence entirely in camera, which enhanced the visceral scares for both the cast on set and the audience in theaters. The Real Janet's Levitation photos focuses on the famous and controversial photographic evidence captured during the original 1970s investigation in England. Taken by photographer Graham Morris, these monochrome images depict young Janet Hodgson seemingly floating and launching through the air from her bed. Within the film, the production crew meticulously recreated these specific historical snapshots to ground the cinematic story in real-world paranormal lore. While believers view the original pictures as definitive proof of supernatural forces, critics and skeptics have argued for decades that the photos merely capture a young girl leaping off her mattress in a normal physical manner. The hidden Valak names refers to a clever visual motif engineered throughout the early parts of the film that hints at the main antagonist long before its grand revelation. Audiences can spot the letters spelling out the name of the demon hidden in plain sight within ordinary background elements. For instance, the sequence of letters appears systematically arranged on Lorraine's bookshelf, spelled out by craft beads on a kitchen table, and woven into an ornamental piece of jewelry. This intricate detail was intentionally woven into the scenery by the production team to build subconscious dread and reward attentive viewers who are carefully scanning the environment. The set blessing highlights a spiritual and precautionary measure taken by the filmmakers prior to beginning principal photography for the haunted sequel. Due to the deeply disturbing subject matter and a long-standing history of creepy, unexplained phenomena occurring on supernatural film sets, a real Roman Catholic priest was brought to the studio. On the very first morning of production, the father performed a formal religious ritual and officially blessed the entire stage to ensure the psychological well-being and safety of the cast and crew. This holy ceremony became an iconic piece of production lore that emphasized how seriously the creative team treated the spiritual themes surrounding the investigations of Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren. Franka Potent's skeptic role centers on the prominent German actress who portrays Anita Gregory, a fiercely rational investigator dedicated to debunking supernatural claims. Her character provides a critical narrative counterweight to the methods utilized by Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren, by continuously searching for ordinary, logical explanations behind the chaotic events in the house. This specific dynamic was modeled closely after the real-life historical tensions between parapsychologists who believed the family and those who suspected the children were staging an elaborate hoax. Potent's grounded performance beautifully anchors the story in reality, reminding the audience that skepticism and media scrutiny played an incredibly massive role during the actual events in 1977. The 2:14 runtime notes the surprisingly lengthy duration of the theatrical release of the horror sequel. Clocking in at precisely 2 hours and 14 minutes, this structural length is highly unusual for a mainstream studio horror film, as most projects in the genre are tightly trimmed down to roughly 90 minutes. Filmmaker James Wan explicitly advocated for this extensive duration to prioritize rich character development and emotional storytelling alongside the standard scare sequences. This prolonged runtime gave Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren ample screen time to build a believable emotional bond with the afflicted British family, which ultimately heightened the dramatic stakes and made the terrifying supernatural climaxes feel far more impactful for audiences worldwide. The original demon design highlights a drastic aesthetic alteration made during the post-production phase of the cinematic sequel. Throughout principal photography, the primary malevolent entity stalking the family was represented as a grand, mythological horned beast equipped with massive, dark wings. Actor and composer Joseph Bishara actually wore an elaborate, practical animatronic suit on set to terrify the cast in real time. However, during editing, the director realized this epic creature felt incredibly out of place within the intimate, grounded world of the franchise. Remembering how the real-life Lorraine Warren expressed profound respect for her holy friends, the filmmaker reconceived the villain as a creepy, sacrilegious nun and completely replaced the horned monster through additional photography. The Janet Confession audio centers on a highly controversial real-world tape recorded during the initial 1970s poltergeist investigation. In this audio document, 11-year-old Janet Hodgson candidly admits that she and her sister actively fabricated a tiny percentage of the supernatural occurrences happening inside their household. Skeptics and critics frequently point to this recorded admission as absolute proof that the entire haunting was an elaborate juvenile hoax driven by attention-seeking adolescent children. However, investigators like Ed Warren defended the family by arguing that the children only faked a minute number of phenomena due to immense media pressure from visiting journalists who demandingly expected to witness paranormal activity on command. The Amityville intro omissions refers to the specific historical details and crucial contextual elements that the filmmakers intentionally excluded during the opening sequence of the cinematic sequel. This introductory segment briefly covers the infamous house in New York, where Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren conducted a highly publicized seance to uncover the demonic residue left behind by mass murderer Ronald DeFeo Jr. However, the film omits the intense media controversy and subsequent legal battles that severely tarnished the real-world investigation, including accusations from skeptics that the entire haunting was an elaborate, financially motivated hoax. By omitting these messy real-life disputes, the narrative successfully keeps the spotlight focused entirely on the terrifying supernatural elements and the unwavering heroism of the primary paranormal investigators. The Stage 4 haunting centers on the eerie and highly publicized reports of authentic paranormal occurrences taking place directly on the studio lot during the filming of the sequel. Specifically, various cast and crew members reported hearing disembodied whispers, feeling unexplained freezing cold drafts, and discovering heavy security tools moving completely on their own across Warner Bros. Stage 4. The eerie activity became so prominent and distracting to the production crew that the director ultimately decided to bring a real priest onto the lot to formally bless the location. This real-life behind-the-scenes drama deeply unnerved the actors and quickly solidified Stage 4 as a famously cursed space within modern Hollywood horror filmmaking lore. Bill Wilkins' House History examines the historical background of the specific council house located at 234 Green Street in Enfield. Before the Hodgson family moved into the residence and experienced the terrifying poltergeist activity, an elderly man named Bill Wilkins actually resided there. He tragically passed away inside the home due to a localized brain hemorrhage while sitting in his favorite armchair in the downstairs living room. When the spirit began communicating through young Janet Hodgson, it accurately detailed the precise layout of the house and the exact manner of his death. This eerie alignment of facts served as foundational real-world evidence that convinced investigators, including Ed Warren, that a genuine intelligent spirit was bound to the structural geography of the property. The Indian Theater Death describes a deeply unsettling and tragic real-world incident that occurred during the theatrical run of the horror sequel in June 2016. Inside a cinema located in Tiruvannamalai, India, a 65-year-old man reportedly complained of severe chest pains and subsequently collapsed during the climax of the movie. He was rushed to a nearby hospital where medical professionals officially pronounced him dead from a sudden heart attack brought on by immense stress. The story shifted from a tragic medical event into pure urban legend territory when the individual tasked with transporting the deceased body mysteriously vanished along with the corpse. This disturbing true story circulated aggressively across internet forums, leading horror fans to speculate that a real curse was tied directly to the public projection of the film. The Cursed Script copy centers on an eerie piece of physical production lore regarding the physical screenplays distributed to the creative team. According to community speculation and behind-the-scenes rumors, a specific physical copy of the working script used during pre-production was plagued by bizarre structural anomalies and minor unexplainable fires. Several crew members claimed that this particular text would routinely disappear from locked storage units, only to reappear in random, damp corners of the studio stage. The rumor grew so pervasive that the physical script was allegedly marked with warning labels instructing handlers never to reuse or copy the pages. This item eventually became a legendary artifact within the hardcore fan community, serving as a dark symbol of the ambient supernatural energy believed to be attached to the writing of the film. The Playground Zoetrope focuses on a highly specific piece of visual imagery utilized to bridge the gap between childhood innocence and demonic manifestation. In the film, A revolving optical toy is used by the young boy Billy to display an animation of a man walking a dog, which later distorts into the terrifying silhouette of the crooked man. Fans of deep lore note that the specific playground equipment outside the council house was intentionally designed by the production crew to mimic the rhythmic, rotating intervals of a massive, real-world zoetrope. This subtle architectural layout was meticulously crafted to subconsciously prepare the audience for the distorted, stuttering movements of the demon whenever it stepped into the physical world. Paranormal theorists online often use this entry to argue that the malevolent entity was manipulating ordinary mechanical shapes to construct its physical form. The David Soul Serenade highlights a surprisingly tender, yet structurally vital character sequence that takes place amidst the overwhelming horror of the haunting. While sheltering inside the darkened house, Ed Warren grabs an acoustic guitar and performs a heartfelt vocal rendition of a popular 1977 love song originally sung by actor David Soul. This musical interlude provides a crucial moment of psychological relief for the terrified children and reinforces the thematic bond between the primary paranormal investigators. Deep lore enthusiasts point out that this specific song selection was a masterclass in temporal accuracy, as the track was actively dominating the British radio charts during the exact months of the historical Enfield investigation. The scene beautifully demonstrates how the filmmakers used authentic pop culture artifacts to ground the emotional reality of the characters before plunging them back into supernatural chaos. The third entity theory represents a complex piece of speculation among hardcore paranormal researchers regarding the true nature of the Enfield haunting. While the theatrical narrative heavily attributes the supernatural terror to the spirit of Bill Wilkins and the demon Valak, this fringe theory suggests that a completely separate, undocumented entity was pulling the strings. Believers of this deep lore argue that a quiet, highly malevolent elemental force had occupied the land long before the house was built, utilizing the spirits of dead residents merely as visual masks to torment the living. This theory suggests that Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren were dealing with a far more ancient cosmic evil that intentionally hid its true identity. This is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.